Hi, welcome to the Outer Haven Poetry Broadcast. My name is Paul Edward Costa. I'm a writer, a teacher, and a spoken word performer here in the Greater Toronto Area. I'm also currently serving as the Poet Laureate for the City of Mississauga until April 2021. This event is normally live, but with poetry readings shut down due to COVID-19, I've retooled this edition of the series as a video instead. So, there will be readings from 3 different poets who are based in Mississauga who have their wonderful words to share with you. I'll be sharing some recommendations for books that are written by local authors that you should definitely check out, as well as different publications where you should look into submitting your writing, as well as a plug for the venue where we normally host this series. So, thank you for joining us, and let's get started.
For little more than a fortnight, I find my mouth full of cherry blossoms. Feel them tumbling out as I pore over old letters. Whisper to people who don't understand the flower language. Can't see the difference between the days I speak black roses and foxgloves, asphodel and anemone, or marigolds and nettle, who let petals fall to the ground, crush them under indifferent feet. I leave a trail of bruised blooms wherever I go. Jasmine buds in the crossroads of my veins, finds itself in the corner of my mouth when I speak the language of my ancestors. Trilliums grow in my hair, peek out from dark ringlets at a world where flowers are meant to be cut, bundled, and presented only where ceremony deems appropriate.
Normally I recommend 2 books by local writers at editions of this series, but because it's been a long time since the last one, I've decided to recommend 4. The first is a poetry chapbook called Arthropoda by J. Marshall Freeman, a poet who I've always seen do wonderful work at the Shabashir Poetry Series in Toronto. In addition, In the Company of Crows by Brandon Pitts, published by Mosaic Press. Brandon did the first fully memorized featured set of poetry I saw that inspired me to memorize a lot of my own work. Also, Subtitles, a book of short stories by Domenico Capilongo from Guernica Editions. I've used a lot of these stories in the high school English classes I've taught. And I'm also recommending Deep Sea, which is a graphic novel by Ricky Lima and D.A. Bishop. I've met Ricky in Brampton, and he has a lot of other great graphic novels and comics to check out.
Solitude. Who are you when you are all alone? No one to judge, to admire, or to shame. With no crowd, no outsiders, and no clones. What is your life's picture when it lacks a frame? With none to impress, what do you own? Much is bought for others to see and acclaim. A rock can glitter, but still be a stone, yet be seen as more when it bears a brand name. How do you look with no one to set the tone? No way to be different, nor to be the same. Through time and training, talent can be grown, mistakes to be learned from, difficulty overcame. Technique can be mastered and skill can be shown, but with no eyes watching, there can be no fame. Are you willing to expand on what you've known without an audience there to exclaim? Would you take one step out of your comfort zone without the fear of being dull, boring, or lame? How much of yourself do you leave unknown because of the parts you are embarrassed to claim? By yourself, would you build your own throne? Or with no one to call you, would you have no name?
Here are some places to submit your writing if you're a writer looking to publish your work. Carousel magazine is open for submissions of poetry and short fiction. Augur magazine is open until July 30th for submissions of graphic fiction, poetry, and short fiction. Beliveau Review is open until September 30th for submissions of poetry, and they're also taking submissions of photography and visual art. Antimony and Elder Lace Press is open until December 25th for submissions of mystery, horror, or thriller novel manuscripts. And Djinn Press is opened for submissions of sci-fi and fantasy short stories, serialized stories, or flash fiction, and the deadlines there vary, so check them out for more information.
At last, there is a house where a Christmas ornament with the word peace hangs outside the door all year long. It isn't some mansion on a hill with clear crystals dripping from the ceiling. The house is quite lived in, keeping the history of a Taiwanese family alive. For about a year, I had lived in what felt like an eternal ice age. Frozen inspiration, nothing and no one to nurture my growth. But this house has Buddhas resting on the walls and the flower of life blossoming in patterns on the carpets. This house may not be for the next 30 years, and I wouldn't want it to be. But for the time being, I can ground myself in a place where I won't hear frantic screaming when pots collide by accident. The bullet in me can rest without feeling like I'm surrounded by delicate china. Butterflies had led me to this reward for never compromising my values. I didn't realize how much I was carrying until I put the baggage down and never had to pick it back up. I don't know where I'll go next, but now I feel my shoulders without the weight of a broken home. I've breathed new air, and I have found peace at last.
The venue where this event is normally hosted is called Little London Cafe. They're located over on Polonia Avenue near Steeles and Shinkuzi in Brampton. They've recently reopened for patio and takeaway service, and I first encountered the proprietors Jazz and Kamal Singh when Jazz was working at Mandelo's restaurant here in Mississauga. In addition, Jazz and Kamal have just welcomed their first child into the world, so a huge congratulations to them. Every time I've been at that venue, I've always had wonderful food and service, so please show them some love and support. Go to Little London Cafe in Brampton. I've nearly forgotten the design of the gate through which I passed when I left the Western Province. It was once my path's only culmination, the marker, the end point, the stark watchers standing at the edge of my dreams with folded arms, daring me to get closer and touch that goalpost, knowing full well my inability to stop walking, my addiction to the momentum of accumulated progress into barren lands beyond a tangible silence, a heavy absence, a total fear and sweat-soaked palms, and an unanchored mind that doesn't know where to settle. But it's been months, a year and a half, and the gate fades into memory's overexposed sunset the further I push into a place that's broken so many after 5 steps that I've started daring myself, asking just how far I can take this road, what land lies past the next horizon, and what unknown state I'll inhabit when I arrive. If I can recognize my arrival. That brings us to the end of the first Outer Haven Poetry broadcast. Thank you so much to Kirat Dar, Sarah Gladden, and Vanessa Batera for sharing their words with us. Be sure to check out work by J. Marshall Freeman, Brandon Pitts, Domenico Capilongo, and Ricky Lima, as well as the artist D.A. Bishop. A huge shout out to Jazz and Kamal Singh at Little London Cafe. Please support them. And send some writing to the different publications that I listed that are looking for submissions. My name is Paul Edward Costa. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.